Nana Asante Bediatuo, Nana Asante Bediatuo, Nana Asante Bediatuo. Unfortunately, folks. Nana Asante Bediatuo, Nana Asante Bediatuo, Nana Asante Bediatuo. Unfortunately, folks. But folks, Shannon say Asem Kesebi da Homaye. With the very latest of Nana Asante Bediatuo, folks, the issue about Bediatuo HRS, Sisia Kase, my memo the latest on Bediatuo Nafi, Mefa and Tohane Yankoyenim. Now, everybody knows that Nana Asante Bediatuo, as I said, Sabri, into Abeka eye yensa dedada. But Ebra Menemo Kase. Information eguho, and whilst we are much closer to the location of Nana Asante Bediatuo, I've said it already, sir. Nana Asante Bediatuo is not coming home anytime soon. No. Debbie, it's not. Number 2. Afi the latest yenyane say Nana Asante Bediatuo baby odano. Baby Nana Asante Bediatuo odano. Womo eden womo accorded. I mean putting in quotation is being corded. So what it means is that if that place in court is being corded, what it means is that not just any ordinary person in our bit mirror and Asante Bediatuo na swear. As it will be a den and Asante Bediatuo aquaquashe. Sisiano, a nipa biara entimi enra Nana Asante Bediatuo na catch it just like that. No. Se kaneno ne bia no mo bie ema enipa tumi kohwa. Sisiano de atene se Nana Asante Bediatuo baby odano afi ya narrow the gates, if you like, the door passage to going to see Nana Asante Bediatuo has been narrowed. And I hope you can understand this. That door has been narrowed. You're close to it. So if the door has been narrowed, it means not just anybody. And I'm a government official. And I'm not say. And I'm no, I'm sorry. One more unnarrowed door. Now, if the door has been narrowed, what it means is that not just say, baby, papa, onenam, and said the nyoma air corn hono. No. And ye easy, sir. There be. No. May you say, or may it look like, say, the situation is getting worse and it's worsening day by day. Or which one is this? See, you're close to door no obient me remu, second and nine chompes or moyen and one. Afi location or one your location and so. Why do you think they will do this? So now there is what you call speculation galore within the circles. Now, me can't the circles now, you know. There is a rumor mill all around the circles. Yes. Location baby ordana yasisana. 2. The door giving passage to whoever has been narrowed. I can only still call on the sympathizers, loved ones of Nana Asante Bediatuo to continue to pray for Nana Asante Bediatuo. But again, per all the intelligence gathering and our canary bears and our Trojan horse picking the signals, nature say, he cannot, will not, and may not come to help President Adedankwa Akufo-Addo to do what you call a smooth transition, to hand over, because on secretary to the president, he has to help the president to do what you call a transition. Another government in Auburn, I saw me a transition or me a handover. Going to be member. So bet me aba, and another just they conjure a magic, unless magic be is conjured. Other than that, meaning how that magic would be like. Folks, Nana Asante Bediatuo diano, aha, and a yedi is on Wednesday. We gave a prelude over the blistering political standoff between the minority and the majority in Ghana's legislative house. And we were waiting on the Speaker Alban Kingsford Sumana Bagbin to rule on the standoff the next day. Yesterday, 17th October, the Speaker dropped his ruling. Now on Wednesday, any idea assembly beto homamo. Say, asem kesibi si wa parliament wa huye. Say, about 3 or so seats have been declared. Say ni nano, wamoko independence. Speaker Bagbin need to obey say, as I say, oya den, otumi declare sa seats in the air womoye de komine. Now, the minority by numerical have taken the majority mantle in the August House according to Constitutional Article 97H, etc. Unprecedented development and pretty fascinating situation ever in our political history. Indeed, history is in the making. And may I say, this has never happened before in our political jurisprudence, the first of its kind. Afidi ebe sinize. And we are no minority for one more and led by Kessel Atoforsen. One more Edom Kokituano. For whatever, speaker no shemra e woho. Any antecedents no or and again taking precedent from the predecessor Professor Aaron Kweno. Not just say and they said Newman Echo. In general, speaker no yeden it declare Sir seat vacant. What this means is that the president has been disabled of his powers at this moment. 50 more days left to go to the polls. Not just a washer the enra a si wo hono a woman penny at the dankwa kufado na kunra woteswa o president ni executive president but constitution it say enyoma bebre na president ni be ya ontimi mfani to me yet no just say parliament amba ne say to me so guess what happened enra so o man penny ni tia kunya so nra na ye je sa to me ni free ni nsem nra said no only to me nenra Kessel Atoforsen ne dom tene ebekuta majority. This is an unprecedented, and of course listeners and viewers will recall that on Wednesday I warned the governing New Patriotic Party to be careful of this constitutional blunder and distortion. Manga Wednesday man is a make away. Yeah baso. And the woman say, and I pay no more sorry na womu dimirika. Emirika tuo, womu nemu dimirika to say Philistine a soldier for. Adie baba yo womu tetem ponkosu krika womania brise keke. And they have to bench Supreme Court a judge for some moment traho na munyese enfemai. And no besi say ne in less than 24 hours, na Supreme Court bench, SYMA 5-0. Women na adwin ko si. Won de wi ase betimi ayi nipa. Ebi ni won de tumi, won de tumi betimi ayi nipa. Won wenim guase a enura kwame na afenyo marking eni ni nuanom na omo ofie ho enim guase a eba monim na wo kwame na marking wakwakoji Supreme Court injunction obaya even serving the speaker no to know say speaker need jurisdiction pa say na service speaker no. You've been in parliament for whatever na mo feel say mo ye hwan na mo ye chei mensa bonsu mo say no mo nim guase despicably shameful mo na mo feel say dia mo ye no chei mensa na mo gu nanim ase say chei mensa tama che bibi say enkoso. But we say when you go say at the pepe bia ntimi free Nazareth ma. Folks, Speaker no man ruling is saying send a coy. Take a listen to Speaker Alban Bagbin. Listen to this.
NDC MP for Amenfi Central in the Western region, now referred to as an independent parliamentary candidate for the same constituency. 2. Honorable Andrew Amwako Asiama, independent member for Fomna constituency in Ashanti region, now referred to as MPP parliamentary candidate for the constituency. 3, Honorable Kojo Asante, MPP MP for Suhum in the Eastern Region, now referred to as independent candidate for the same constituency. And finally, Honorable Cynthia Mamile Morrison, MPP MP for Agona West constituency in the Central Region, now referred to as independent candidate for the same constituency. These MPs cannot be allowed by law and my good self to continue to pretend to be representing people that they don't believe in and they don't have any loyalty for in this house any longer. The house is accordingly so informed. Honorable members, I thank you for your patience and attention.
Years, I have accorded you every respect, and I'll continue to do that no matter. Mr. Speaker, the facts you put out are not true. Mr. Speaker, these are credibility issues, so I will respond for the record. Mr. Speaker, somebody has told you something. Mr. Speaker, you reserve the right to be there to make your point. Let me make my point too. Mr. Speaker, no way. Mr. Speaker, no way. Mr. Speaker, whoever told you, Mr. Speaker, whoever told you that I threw a paper at somebody, this has to do with my credibility. I will not allow
Honorable member, you don't listen at all.
Mr. Speaker, I do.
I never said
Mr.
you.
Speaker, you said
I never said you threw a paper at anybody.
Mr. Speaker,
I never said that.
That's exactly what you said. Let the answer check it. Mr. Speaker, that is what you said.
You are being carried away by your anger. You are not listening.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not angry.
Honorable member. Honorable member.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not angry.
I said the court process was thrown on the table in the office. I never stated it was thrown by you at any person.
Mr. Speaker, you said I allegedly said some bailiffs. Alleged bailiffs.
No.
Mr. Speaker, then clarify.
Please.
Mr. Speaker,
Listen to me.
Mr. Speaker, listen.
Honorable Majority Leader, I don't want to proceed to make some orders. Please, resume your seat. I'm very serious about that.
Mr. Speaker,
please, resume your seat. Honorable member, your
coming events cast their shadows. We have Parliament now, elect with the executive.
For the
Folks, the Speaker, Alban Kingsford Smana Bagbin, yesterday night, breaking news story, and may I say, still, this is a very top developing story with many angles all coming. You. But, and before close of today, Ghana's Supreme Court have turned the tables. Yeah. On my turning table, no. Just say, one more call for them proper constitutional interpretation. Nana mi bisa say, enti dada nyana munim says ala kuna we wo ho. Say mo na adana dada mo nko. Enti one more ya fa kwan we so. Enso ne declare mo seat ni na no. Can we say the law is in retrospect? Is the law beginning to look like in retrospection? Or can the law be in retrospective? And this microphone they have to come back. Can we say that? Including the Professor Mike Aaron Kwe or our Parliament one as well. And the Supreme Court, man called Supreme Court, anchor interpretation. Bibi Samo. Their Professor Mike Aaron Quay, what in a Ghana's parliament, what in sa a short one them from a year and the man interpretation. Where the Moko events, the Bediano. Cynthia Morris and the rest in the Moko interpretation. God punish you people. God punish you people. It would give for rocks. I'm a moya for munimshe, ma bonkeke. Now, Supreme Court, with the greatest respect to Chief Justice, yeah, munimuhinio. Now, the fact is, the apex court of our land, Unyankopon Shemu. Supreme Court may say, God is watching you. Mami Chief Justice say, Munya careful, oh. Be very, very careful. The manner in which Mudio main shabre, the soul, the sanctity, the integrity of this nation, under the full glare of the global space, Munya careful. Their eyes are watching. Ghana is not an island, and Ghana cannot, will not, and may not be an island. May say the international community are watching. Madam Chief Justice, you're very careful, oh, mame, with the greatest of respect to you. Do not take my word to be that of a threat. This is not a threat. This is a caution, sir. Musheye. Adiana muye and a payno. Listen, all Ghanaians, all and sundry, we don't need any lawyer to come and sit there and give us interpretation. It doesn't make sense to Ghanaians. It doesn't have any meaning. And you may Supreme Court, Mami Chief Justice, including the LGBTQ. What have you done? What have you done? What have you done, Mami Chief Justice? Aday, what crime has Ghanaians committed? Boni ben yayamu. Entibibo. Cynthia Morrison ni seat. Entibu declare na yeden. And the rest. Mu declare na yeden. Hey, adia seba semusunyi. What is going on? And you may be away here on my no, but here, Mudibrika, Embrika Tose Tatata, to say Philistine and soldier for Motetem Ponkoswo, Krika, and a yeding, and to Motani table in a yeding. But Moon say, Ya what de Biamicon, Ya wa in your banshee, a your body, and more gene, at the 24 Mugu Parliament, some more bomb ya. And to members in that parliament, you know, and to a man co-opposition, and more gene. At the 24, Munim Yansa, rocks and rats, ragamuffins, moon, and the moon smoothness level. Now, Mufisa Muye Cynthia Morrison and the rest of them. Now, the secret behind it say, by the time one Supreme Court, Baby Sadway, na electoral commission, up iodine, at the arrangement in Abba, and this Cynthia Morrison Bernard is also independent, Obedron, na electoral commission for Savi, and one, they kick her out. Nina drink Cassia, no Mufisa, Womunkan or more drink Cassia. Adomu yeni nara towards undermining all those MPP for no womu person muko independent. That's the whole trick. Munim si ekuta intelligence nina. Hwe bonia mudie. God ehumo mobo. But the enya me ya bebrebe say you are just a mere mortals. We are mortals keke. Useless mortals with breastless state of line. We are mortals with breastless. They bring to be crying Yahume Papa. Ayare from Kwa. Miss all of them. Women are Yare. Ayare from Kwa. They have no strength, yet they can talk big. No maki kankwa siasam egugana fotrim. And some fool and womanimka. But womanim nyanse de ya de. If you won't say power is gradually slipping out of their hands. So what I did on person here. Now they have to go and box the judiciary. And I'm panel judiciary. The Lord God, he who was and is to come, will be punishable and descendants. I'm telling you people. Now, Supreme Court judge for God's representative on this earth. But if you think you can look at the faces of the 32 million Ghanaians and perpetuate this constitutional disorder, oh, wait a minute. God will visit all of you. The saints are praying. Listen to me one more time. The saints are praying. Did you hear that? Again, I'm saying the saints are praying. On the Galamsey front, President Adodankwa Akufo-Addo has called on John Dramani Mahama to lay down his roadmap on the illegal mining warfare. Why would the president ask John Mahama to do that? Now, Onono fa ne de mayo. The Onono ba ene say, so no went to me anko santo kwano or so be resign. But right now, he's asking John Dramani Mahama to lay down the roadmap. Why would the president do that? Take a listen to him.
I'm saying matter which has risen a lot in Ghana today. In the last election in the mining districts of the country, the MPP did very badly. Largely because the NDC presidential candidate and the party had got around the mining areas and saying that the policy that I was implementing of trying to stop Galamsey would be reversed when he came to power. And that those who were already in jail for offenses, the Galamsey offenses, all of them would be amnestied. When I said I was putting my presidency on the line, that's what I meant. That I was prepared to take the political risk involved in trying to deal with this Galamsey phenomenon. The result, of course, was that the mining districts, especially in the western region, all of them, including almost, nearly, even Takwa, was lost to the MPP. That is what I meant when I said I'm putting my presidency on the line. That I was prepared to take the political risk involved in coming to grips with this problem. Today, he's saying that no, he doesn't believe in jailing, that he's against Galamsey, that he will enforce the law. So once again, we have to ask ourselves, Mr. J.M., where do you stand? What are you telling the people of Ghana? Because every time you speak from one corner of your mouth and you speak from another corner of your mouth. Let us hear from you direct, straight up, what do you stand for? We need to know. The candidate, the MPP presidential candidate, has gone on record as saying that as far as he's concerned, he is prepared to sign a pact that will take the Galamsey issue out of our politics, to depoliticize it, to commit him and our party, all of us, agreeing that we would deal with this Galamsey phenomenon on a non-partisan basis. We have yet to hear from the NDC presidential candidate. I'm asking him to also come out and support the idea of a political pact on Galamsey.
Folks, fundamentally, President Ebibisa asked me, but the question remains, sir, we are talking today. We are talking of today. We are talking of today, not tomorrow. So what is the president talking about? Mr. President Akufo-Addo, President Akufo-Addo, you are the commander-in-chief of the security services. So what's it mean ko bisa John Mahama? John Mahama, ayene di okọ. Wuna sabriwe under the prevailing circumstance and at this crucial point, Ghana's forest reserves, Ghana water bodies, Ninyara, all of this social inyoma when Yankupo bo ni wiase die e mayenum, shut it down. It's crumbling with the speed of light. And I cannot go and ask John Mahama, you are in charge. And today I sent President Akufo-Addo who came. Who could be Sir John Mahama saying, how? Who know what you folks? My memo the very latest about. When we said Nania, we must operation Deben, and on my dispatch military. Do you know what is happening? Wherever the military are called me through on the Galamsey for us, Munko check it. I don't want to say that. Anybody who doubts me, go back and check. A soldier for the free while pet no master back. So who Bonia and you intimacy. Sir, 50 more days left to go. Tonight, Kosi Den Ubehu. Na me say, Mose Mobile Ghana say, Obomofo Breu, na Trimbe Bre Papa. nti na onyankopon ebetwitwa mo mu bi mo na so am so nse me ka say owura Nana Asante Bediatuo ono na ncho beba akufado table so no ma be inside transition no transitional administration ono na nche so oba because he's the secretary to the cabinet and also oba arrange but he may not be there as we keep yes of course as we keep it at the base folks Bediatuo no Agyapa decides and if he yebe koso na ensemu be pie but before yebe koso I want you to take a look at how earlier other media houses reported the Agyapa blueprint saying and other media houses reported the Agyapa blueprint. Of course, before we take full flight with the document, let's have a look at how other media houses earlier took interest in the reportage of the document. Media houses agree. Tonight, this is our second review. But earlier, other media houses also took interest in it. Take a listen to this and listen carefully.
A coincidence or an intentionality? This possibly describes the general sentiments of many following the jaw-dropping revelations in the latest Agyapa document. Well, the document, which has since gone viral, has ignited heated exchanges about its authenticity. And despite the ruling MPP's dismissal of the document as fake, recent events may suggest otherwise. But before we get into the crust of the responses to the claims, what does the document really say, and is its content in correlation with current events? Well, let's find out. In essence, the document outlines a strategic plan for the ruling MPP, including the control of Ecobank through SNIT, shareholding and board representation, placement of party members and sympathizers in key government and judiciary positions, the dominance in the electricity sector, potentially through the PDS scandal, and the implementation of the Agyapa deal. And the reasons for the alleged attempt at state capture were explained in the foreword of the document. Portions of the foreword read, quote, "We, the Achim, were nobody's subjects, and yet, after 1957, we were made to live in shadows of the descendants of people who never defeated us in war, while the Asante Kingdom was uplifted to put us in the shade." In relatively recent times, the struggles and works of J.B. Dankwa to restore Ochiman to its original glory were thwarted, but he fought bravely to the end, unquote. Interestingly, most events as outlined in the document have already unfolded, with similarities so striking you'd probably liken it to a dream come true. For instance, page 6 of the document reveals two routes through which Ecobank could be penetrated. It stated, and I quote, "First is through SNIT, which has a seat on the board of Ecobank Ghana by its shareholding. The seat is occupied by the Director General of SNIT. In phase 2 of our agenda, Kofi Bosompem Osafomafo, a Deputy Director General of SNIT, should be made the DJ to give him the seat on the Ecobank Ghana board," unquote. Now, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo on April 9, 2024, appointed Kofi Bosompem Osafomafo to the role of Director General of the Social Security and National Insurance Trust, SNIT, after serving as deputy for 7 good years. Moreover, page 31 of the document says that there was a calculated effort to position members and sympathizers of the party at strategic positions both in government and in the judiciary. It states, quote, "All the appointments made to the Supreme Court, Court of Appeal and some of the high courts in Ghana under our government were to promote the MPP agenda and to ensure our country never falls in the hands of the opposition NDC," unquote. Well, since the president's inception into office, he's already made over 15 appointments into the Supreme Court. The document's additional plan to favor the family members of the current president has been met with stark reactions.
The president appointed his cousin, Nana Asante Bediatuo, as executive secretary. Now he even has 2 appointments as ambassador. The president appointed his Nana Bediatuo's father, Kofi Dankwa Asante, as chairman on the Gimpa Council. The president appointed Mrs. Vida Asante, who is the mother of Nana Asante Bediatuo, as the Ghana head of the president's household. The president appointed Kwesi Kutu Asante, the brother of Asante Bediatuo again, as a board member of the hostels board. The president appointed Loretta Ochere, the sister of Nana Asante Bediatuo. Tenoforata, president's cousin, was appointed finance minister. Samuel Atachia, who is the president's family, was appointed the Minister of Works and Housing. Kwesi Amoakwata, who is the president's cousin again, was appointed Minister for Roads and Highways. Duko Foriata, who is the president's cousin, was appointed the senior presidential staffer. Gabi Asarochidako, of course, didn't get an appointment, but we know who is the prime minister of this country.
And the document further highlighted the party's intention to control the electricity sector in page 3. In 2019, the Power Distribution Services (PDS) was contracted by government to manage the country's electricity distribution. The scandal raised allegations of fraudulent documents, lack of due diligence, and the evaluation of assets and conflict of interest, leading to its eventual cancellation. Moreover, the controversial Agyapa deal, which became a major bone of contention in Parliament, also found itself in the document. The alarming contents of this document have raised concern about the potential manipulation of political power and the attempts at state capture. And the first to directly address the said publication head-on was the man whose image lies on the front page of the document, Ochehene Osajifo Amwetia Ofori-Penning II himself. President Akufo-Addo has also described it as fake.
With a few months to the December 2024 elections, they are at it again. A fabricated document entitled Agyapa is being peddled around by operatives of the opposition as evidence of a grand scheme by my party to annex the state, the assets of the state.
And as expected, the flag bearer of the NDCs having none of their claims.
Hold this government accountable for the hardship, the crisis that they've subjected Ghana to, for the state capture that they have implemented in Ghana over the last 8 years. Buying every state property, buying all the government lands, amassing wealth to themselves. Recently there was an issue about a document called Agyapa. They said it's fabricated. But even if it's fabricated, the implementation is not fabricated.
Some analysts have asked President Akufo-Addo and persons mentioned in the Agyapa document to seek legal redress if indeed the content of the document is fake.
In fact, I dare say that the president is deliberately waging a war on Ghana. Certainly.
You dare say?
I dare say that.
You dare say?
He is waging a war on Ghana. And it becomes our obligation, the obligation of every single Ghanaian, to rise up and defend Ghana.
I said the picture of them is on the document. They should have taken it to court to disassociate themselves from it. The president is a lawyer. They have taken it to court to disassociate themselves. Have they done it? They haven't. So we take it that what is in this document is what they believe in.
Some may dismiss the Agyapa document as a fabrication, and others may see it as a blueprint for political manipulation. But despite the varying perspectives, one thing is clear: that the document has exposed deep-seated concerns about governance, power, and accountability in Ghana.
Folks, I'm sure at this time you have to take a deep breather, is it not? Did you hear the Supreme Court? This is how the Agyapa document earlier, other media houses expressed their interest in the reportage. Folks, may I say, the few minutes, 42 minutes gone past the hour 9. This is Ghana Speaks Agyapa Decides. Folks, memfe ni agro. Dia AC o Ghana na say, ye wadwini say agro bi ni ye dia, enya agro. Bibia wonhu biara. Ene ni na ene won the Supreme Court for na ye. When would the Supreme Court judges o Ghana ha ni na our document. Great. Now, last Wednesday I left a page. That page ni kwanya. Ye ne the business mogul Ora Kweku Otin yede ne fa so. Na document ni betre kwanya afi yede ne baba Francisca Otin ono so yede ne be fa so. Ma me kan bibia ne ba no. Sa page na me jai no. Tie de ebe. O say Francisca Otin must be asked from Parliament. What Francisca Otin must be asked. Not just say ask cry ni twi ni e friend simple. Ask abonua. So mo de abonua ebo ni team eyi ni free Parliament o MPP mo ye ni papa ne fo papa ne ba no Francisca Otino so mo de abonua ebo ni free. Also, there is no doubt that one reason that would make our fight against Kweku Otin is his daughter, who is the MP for Kwabri East. Nana nearly made her a deputy minister for youth and sports, largely due to her age and her father's influence, until the BNI report on her got to him. She seems to be patching camp with Allen, and ignorantly playing the Ashanti card as Antiphonimehu. Or see, she would work against Dr. Baumia's bid for Nana. Although she lobbied for a deputy ministerial appointment, Nana only gave her the NYA board membership just to stop her father from complaining about his token for the 2016 campaign. Oh, Bonia Mudine. Ahana Makani na chrese. Eye Ewrei Francisca Otin, one mo chrese. Woye MPP nimba pawo. Na one no contest MPP seat in Kwabri East. Na one mo chrese olobe say Akufo-Addo enye no Minister for Youth and Sports. But senti omonfa sa post ni mane chrese. Woman say Erano Odidiko Allen Kwadwo Tremanten kam. Eno eye musuo baako ema se ombema ne sa post. Afi woman say ne papa ya say ye ma ne post. But BNI report no eba ya sa BNI report no edru president wo no eno mu say oh sana Odidiko Allen honti. So me den wo mu yi ne hwefo. Enti ministerial position om de bema no ya mfa ama no ye ma no only a board membership. Afi omu susu se Parliament hono esie den yede abonua ewo ne firi ho tie nani na mpo no mo che se eye owura kwaku otin dede bebrebe a waye se wapo MPP ti musum ye den monye na wabo MPP mpo no no na so obi a wa mo MPP e ami hu nipa mobo tie o se Sami Awuku, John Boadu and Chama Wuntumi have been tasked to ensure that she is contested and also loses the 2024 Parliamentary primary of the party. In her stead, the current presiding member of Kwabri East, George Opong, soon to be a lawyer, or any other well-known Akufo-Addo supporter, must be assisted to take over the seat by hook or crook. Afido moto aso ane trese Erano seat na or contest no. Womumpe obia obetimi aden a contest seat no ma won efiri ho. Menemu ka say Ghana for kwana ko check say Francisca Otain or contest seat na say wonya contest. Go and check it. Na be ka chem say kwekwana you are a liar. Go and check. Afi we hu obi a wo mu use ni say wo mu de na beden wo mu de be contest ma me. Wo hu nipa poni a mu betimi edie. Bibia mu ye bia road map ne da ho pepepe. Afi yemra hijacking of Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. Or say, the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation remains the largest media entity in terms of resources and reach. This means that any regime that captures GBC would control the critical mass, especially in rural communities where the private media does not find economically viable to invest. Sadly, the GBC has largely tilted towards the NDC. Perhaps the duration of the NDC as the longest ruling party has ensured that the majority of the GBC workers are anti-NPP. We have planned a 3-layer approach to capturing and controlling the state broadcaster for good. Firstly, the plan to revoke some of their TV channels will resume in 2021. Yomo Pachen Yan said GBC remain a strategic asset. I bet me abua amanyoko bia. Just say media houses in bebre and capture nkrase. And as long as a GBC to me capture no, so momu to me capture GBC. Why? Because woma hwe hu say GBC hono enipo mgo ni na no NDC supporters. And to omo be fa akonua sebisu dia capture GBC. Na sa kwan no omo ba be fa so no. Plan in 3 layers. First plan on mobile phone any year. Firstly, the plan to revoke some of their TV channels will resume in 2021. That means GBC channels no refocus our licenses. We have had to backtrack due to the brouhaha surrounding the revocation of their 3 channels. It appears the time and election year was inappropriate. Kojo Oppong Nkrumah would execute this with fairness and make the channels available to our party business guys, whose list is being compiled. A number of the GBC radio stations would be sold since they are not living up to the task. One more part say, Kojo Oppong Nkrumah and Yedi Edwani Babe Shenensa. No mu be make sure say GBC license ni bebre no Oppong Nkrumah so hwe say ye beton e de ama MPP sympathizers no one ma be the abeton. Invariably MPP is controlling GBC. And here phase 1 or first plan. Secondly, in our next government we have to execute a massive agenda where most senior GBC staff will proceed on leave. Others would also be transferred to some very remote communities where life appears unbearable. The strategy is to get them resigned and their positions be filled with party loyalists. The Omo Pachani said, "Afi omo be fa kweti kwan bi so a, omo be cripple GBC ankasa. E di nipa na omo ye loyalist ema NDC for no. Afi ye ba be transfer dodo no a e do ma kunkurase. Na bebi e do omo kono ho e so remote say, e nipa na omo kono be ye omo adwene say no. I had one team in control, me decide on resign. Now, woman resign here, sa position, woman I quack for Munipa, Edwama Beshisho, invariably, it means woman a control GBC. Woman say this way, we would not only have taken over the state broadcaster, but our plans to sell some of their frequencies would be met with little or no hesitation. Thirdly, the last straw is to continue to ensure that the GBC is inflicted with inadequate budgetary allocations that would justify the need to sell their frequencies. After a month, I say, "Woman nipa na ekosa hinterlands wono a bebi omo be resign no." Eno kire say, "After a month kaso ma ba betra oho. Woman tonton licenses na mo ho no. After a month na ebe den ebe control stations no." Wey, omo last push, omo di push said ebe ya afi GBC sika so omo de ko ma GBC de adwuma no say sika na dodo na na ye fema GBC for ni nara no is to keep GBC inadequacy say be a GBC into nya na adwuma papa. Womo say thirdly, after the last straw, the atosomiensa or say thirdly, the last straw is to continue to ensure that GBC is inflicted with inadequacy budgetary that would justify the need to sell their frequency. GBC frequencies. It will also make their leadership even more loyal since they will have to continually keep mute to get bits of their budgetary release from the finance ministry. Judiciary and governance in Ghana. Judiciary. Woman say, considering the competitive nature of our work as politicians, there is always a need to be a step ahead against our opponent. To secure our interest dominance and maintain power in 2020 and the next 20 years, our focus as a party has always been to position our members and sympathizers at strategic positions, both in government and in the judiciary, to cover and protect our interests. What? Africana for me. One must say, when we are politicians, now politicians be an, as I said, they be an way what they are. So we drink share kind. We drink share kind. I said, me infante pemi. We drink share kind. And to mo drink share kind no. So mutu anamon so asa anamon. Ebetimi aboa mo mo matena position so ache at least up to 20 years. Afi as a so mo do mo hunipa ehihye baby a ebetimi aboa wom, especially Ghana's judiciary. Ghana for na da ho no. Etu say report na wutie other media house no. Wo mo say then 15 judges and you do meko wura Supreme Court and other places. Now here or say this has served us well over the period. All the appointments made to the Supreme Court, to the Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, and some of the High Court in Ghana under our government was to promote the NPP agenda and to ensure our country never fails in the hands of the opposition NDC. And that one. Domo party nyanse one man appointed Dipa Bebre akwachiche Supreme Court, Court of Appeals, and High Court. Womu ye ni na se beya wonu betumi atena oman so. Emama NDC for enya konia sebi emember ha omadwene. Nti assembi e no mde be court no am. Se po NDC for na de call ya. Ajaji for no be bo mu emom di nkunim. Just as womu di we akoko. Ma ende in less than 24 hours the Supreme Court has turned Alban Bagbin, the Right Honorable Speaker's ruling. They are turning it upside down. This is what a clear, vivid example of what the Agyapa document decide is telling you and I. Now, dear, one must say, citizens may exercise popular participation in the administration of justice through the institutions of public and customary tribunals and the jury and accessory systems. The judicial power of Ghana shall be vested in the judiciary. Accordingly, neither the president nor parliament nor any organ or agency of the president or parliament shall have or be given final judicial power. And that one, after you move said, when we build the Supreme Court, and now the judiciary such that no institution in government, not even the presidency, nobody, not parliament, nobody, ever to me actually say court no on yesi and on yesi. Woman the 2 minute court. Dear, after you say the recent decision to exclude the use of birth certificate to prove one's citizenship during the 2020 voter registration exercise is a clear example of the agenda to prevent so many people from registering for this year's election, especially in our opponent strongholds. We had statistics to suggest the negative impact it will have had for us had we allowed it. All this was done to do what? Was done to pave way for the resounding victory for the MPP and Nana in the 2020 elections. It is important that we maintain the security we enjoy currently under the judicial system. I feel one more say, Sentia Woma Mayam for Ghana card, and ye Jubana said, say beya opposition for no, and Timinia Quine, and ye day, and my registration of the Duana Crawford and register. I feel more say, Muse, and you may be no more ya, Supreme Court and Ebema, Jomuye no, what or more, ever born and Amem won 2020, basically, I'm a say, I go smoothly among judicial airborne mobile. One must say it is imperative to observe that in recent times, most elections in Africa have been fraught with post-elections legal challenges. Kenya, Ivory Coast, Zimbabwe are few of these cases. As this becomes a norm, our own experience of 2013 should never happen again. We should never be in this situation, and the lessons should teach us a lot. The lessons should teach us a lot. Occasionally, it can be discovered that the court have been instrumental in shaping the democracy in Ghana, and stakeholders are devotedly operating within the legal framework governing elections. Despite logistical, law enforcement, and justice delivery challenges, we should, as lineage, be the winner in this. Dear, we have to make sure that even in the unlikely event that the NDC win 2020 elections, that they do not get the chance to appoint more judges to the Supreme Court. Our control over the judiciary is important for our protection, even if we were to lose the elections. To prevent such unfortunate situations from occurring, we need to explore all legal avenues to protect our appointees within the judiciary system and find out ways to prevent any new government from making further appointment within the next 10 years at least. One more part say, so mo bo mo humodin bia say, one bet me appointed nipa akoshishe judiciary was say, even in the unlikely situation so mu lose na NDC ba, at least they can be secured say judiciary one a judge for na go ni ayo Crawford a o menya pambo at least for the next 10 years. Afiomoto asom say, while the judiciary can exercise the judicial function, it is slow to resolve disputed facts and law, and often strains to uphold executive authority. For instance, while the Constitution commands that the President appoint members of the Electoral Commission acting on the advice of the Council of State, the court has interpreted this requirement as if the President merely has to consult with the Council of State. In another case, the court has taken over 2 years and is yet to resolve a simple question of law of whether the President can appoint a person who is past the mandatory retirement age to hold public office. It does not help matters that the President can appoint an unlimited number of judges to the Supreme Court. Wo boni omo pedie se wo mo hyehyɛ omo nneɛma ni na ma ne nkoye se afi enkoba se President is caught in the lacuna se so obi abro retirement age afi na President ba be appoint no President na appoint omo ntem and say na nipa na edu ne retirement age wo boni wo mo tri tie wo mo say while Nana has been in office for 3 years, he has appointed 9 judges including 2 chief justices. Admittedly, many of these appointments are made to replace retiring judges, and there no systematic evidence of what deliberate effort to undermine judicial independence. Nevertheless, it feeds the perception that the President is packaging the court to gain influence over judicial decisions. Said the President ni yeni nara afi Mr. President, what you all know all this appointment is exposing the President and the entire judiciary. Or say, to breathe life into the separation of power doctrine, there is a need to amend Article 108 to allow MPs to introduce private member bills. It is not an entrenched provision of the Constitution and can be amended with two-thirds majority. Fortunately, Speaker Professor Michael Quay has signaled that even in the absence of a constitutional amendment, Parliament can address this problem. It is expected that the ongoing process to revise the standing orders of Parliament would contain provisions to allow MPs to introduce non-finance bills. Michael Quay, it is necessary to amend Article 78 to allow a president to choose majority of ministers outside Parliament and also to have a ceiling on the number of ministers required for running government. We also need to place a ceiling on the number of Supreme Court judges and to require all of them to hear all cases, especially those with constitutional ramifications. Are you listening? In the short term and in the absence of a constitutional amendment, as was suggested as far back in 2003 by Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh, there is a need to develop conventions to address some of these gaps rather than take actions that maintain status quo or exacerbate the problem. Or say, in respect of Article 78, through a convention developed between the executive and legislature, a gap on number of ministers can be reached ideally. It can double the number required of a cabinet, 38, excluding regional ministers. A similar convention can be adopted to provide for a ceiling on the number of Supreme Court justices to be appointed. Or say the 2020 elections will not be easy for us. With the current happenings, we need to sit up. Why are we so quiet on the Airbus scandal? Airbus scandal. Or say, why are we quiet on the Airbus scandal? Yes, we know we haven't found enough to indict Mahama, but a lot of Ghanaians were buying into our approach. Why have we stopped? It is time to go back to the drawing board. We must make sure we use the court system to help us damage the NDC beyond repair. Let us start prosecuting people. That's why we put our people there. Otherwise, we have a problem. One must say, I didn't know Mama Airbus scandal. No, there's so many Airbus scandal because Ghana for artists are some. Why? They use their media to do that. A few months started some who prosecute NDC in Penifone said they will break the front line of the NDC. Or say our attempt to take charge of the judiciary is a matter of necessity. Lest we forget that in Accra on June 30th, 1982, between the hours of 9 p.m. and 10:30 p.m., 4 peace-loving and illustrious Ghanaians, citizens, were abducted and callously murdered. The four were Mrs. Justice Cecilia Cranton, Ado, Justice F.P. Sarkodie, and K.A. Agyapa, and Major Sam Akwa, retired. And on this house, people, Joachim Amate Kwe, then 32 years. Lance Corporal Samuel Kweku Amedeka, 27. Lance Corporal Michael Senya, 21. Johnny Zandu, 23. And Tony Tekpo, 24, were tried by a national public tribunal chaired by Mr. George Ajekumi. We cannot acquiesce to the public quest for bygones, the bygones mantra. It is important to understand that the origin still stays with our good friend and former foil, Mr. Rawlings. Your mopa chen is a Rawlings at the 3 High Court judges and it's so genuine fast one. A idea one with him, and they are so much keeping the status quo. He said, a nyadia Rawlings is Umujan and Nenichana. Afi Yedibe or say international relations. Our Russian allies have proven themselves with Operation Coat Magazine. We couldn't have made it thus far with the aggressive nature of the opposition without this strategic document. By handing out magazine to the MPP government, we will need to develop much longer relationship with them, even if in the unlikely situation of the party ever going into opposition. However, COP Bediatuo will need to be handled, having served as the eye of the Russian Federation in our republic. It is very imperative to develop relations and try to avert his anger. His refusal to go become ambassador to the Ukraine signals that the Russians still trust him and would be unwilling to deal with the party in the long run without him. When we hear David Asante Bediatuo, Edinedi to maybe. Now, when we say Bediatuo, one must say a Russian spy. A German person didn't call Ukraine. Bediatuo so on. Why? Because the Russians continue to pound Ukraine, and as long as Asante Bediatuo a Russian spy on Timin Konko working against the Russian interests, according to the document. Tiha, one must say the implementation led by Samia Oku, Lord Comey, Michael Opoku, and the rest would still have to be coordinated with Bediatuo in its fullest brute form to achieve a total annihilation of the NDC opposition and its leading element. Hey, Assembly, we need to properly assess the genuineness of Mr. Yevgeny Prigozhin. He had disclosed in the last meeting in London that he was all for Nana and has had no dealings whatsoever with former president and his party. He repeated this statement in Sochi at a dinner we had with the Egyptian president. It has, however, been difficult to double-check this statement from Mr. Bediatuo. Now, the Russian leader now, no Kuta the Wagner group now, allegedly said he was shot down by the Russian Rasputin. One papaya kodin koma, one person Yevgeny Prigozhin obedi bonibi wa Ghana edemawo. Now, one more here David Asante Bediatuo because Bediatuo no operates in the intelligentsia of the Russian government. Eti womunya Bediatuo betumi akire se sa papa no Yevgeny Prigozhin no obetumi aboa wom emomedi sa boni ko mpese omudi jo mpedo muni. But Bediatuo so that dream so onye se adwuma. Now listen. It is our duty to consider what is set in the bigger Russian picture and pick and choose what would benefit the family. This is key because Ghana is ranked at the level 3 and the magazine program only suffices up to end of 2020. It is instructive to look at the Moscow Grand Plan beyond 2020. The Russian development strategy, which covers the division of the African economy, is meant to contrast the interests of other states. Now, In the light of the above, Kwame and Kusi are to consult and carefully check the benefits of this arrangement as against that of the US to properly position the family and our tradition to be the winners of this political chess game.